Hi there. Welcome to Inside AWAI. My name is Pam Foster. I'm with AWAI, and we have here a power team for you today to talk about setting up your freelance writing business so you can launch with confidence. And let's talk about who is here with us live and in person. So we have assembled an amazing team of managing editors of 3 of our AWAI member sites. So they are Professional Writers Alliance, or PWA. There's Jen, who's the managing editor for that. Then we have B2BWritingSuccess.com, and here's Lisa Christoffel. Hi, Lisa. Hey. And then we have Wealthy Web Writer with Heather Robson at the helm of that. Hi, Heather.
Hi there, Pam.
Welcome, everybody. So this is going to be great because what we've been doing to prepare to share our tips with you is collect our best, what we've seen and what we see our members doing as far as what you need and what you don't need. There's a lot that you don't need that might surprise you. It's really not, it's probably one of the least intensive get into an industry kind of thing. Like, you know, if you want to own a franchise, you have to spend $120,000 and buy a franchise and get a license and all that stuff. If you want to start other kinds of businesses, there's a lot to put into that. With us, with freelancing, it's basically a laptop, Wi-Fi, bada boom, bada bing. So we're going to show you that. And let's just dive on in. Our goal for today is that you'll have a complete picture of what you need and don't need for your freelance business. And of course, we'll answer your questions when we're done. But we have a lot to cover. And I know that I'll try to be as non-wordy as possible because I want to make sure that Heather, Lisa, and Jen have a chance to provide their valuable input as well. So let's just hop on into the slides. All righty. Now, first off, what equipment do I need? Do I need a whole fancy setup? Actually, there are just a few things to get started with. Let's look at those. And you get to decide. You know, everybody has a different way of working. So, you know, out of the 3 of you guys, do you work with a laptop, a desktop, or a tablet mainly?
I work solely with a laptop. Laptop is all that I have. And to me, that's indispensable because it means that I can move around my house during the day. A change of scene is also always nice. My kiddos aren't small anymore, but when my kiddos were small, it meant that I could take them to the park. And as long as I didn't need an internet connection at that moment, they could play and I could write. I could go to a coffee shop to get a quiet space if home was too loud. So yeah, a laptop is definitely my go-to.
How about you, Lisa?
So I actually have a Surface Pro, which is kind of a laptop, kind of a tablet. You know, it's closer to an iPad. And I love it for the portability, like Heather said, but also, you know, I have, before 2020, done a lot of traveling, and a laptop can get pretty heavy in your bag, hauling it around and everything. So I actually love my Surface Pro with its little attached keyboard and stuff because I get all the benefits of a laptop and the lightweight nature of the tablets. So that's my go-to.
And you can do everything, you know, with clients. You know,
I can do everything with clients. It's got full functionality. I've only got one USB port. If I need, for example, a CD-ROM drive, I just have to plug it into the USB port. But it's very, very handy, and I don't use those extra screens and things like that anyway. They confuse me. I like my screen in front of me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I love it.
Okay, cool. And Jen?
Laptop only. And I would also like to emphasize to people who sometimes when they're starting out, they're like, oh, I need a laptop. I need a big fancy one. I need my computer is 8 years old. We've replaced the battery. We've replaced the hard drive. As long as this baby keeps ticking, I'm going to keep using it. The other thing, I do a lot of work these days on my phone. Mm-hmm. And I'm holding this up. This is the sales letter I'm working on now. And part of why I also do it on the phone, I work a lot in the cloud, so it syncs with my computer, whichever one I want to work on, is because so many of my customers are reading all their emails, sales materials on mobile. So I have a chance to preview how it's going to look as I'm going along. So if your phone supports a documents function, you can even start with that.
Yeah.
Yep, cool. And yes, it's true that a lot of things are being done on mobile now. And so anything you can do to make that easier for you and your clients, all the better. And we can get into that in a minute when we talk about the phone, because you do need, a mobile phone. I mean, I am assuming not everyone, I assume nothing here. So we're going to go over the basics. It doesn't matter if it's a PC or a Mac these days. I'm on a Mac. What are you guys on?
I'm on a Mac.
Okay.
I'm on a PC.
Right.
I started on a PC for the first 4 or 5 years, and then I went to Mac.
Yeah.
I got married. My husband uses a Mac. If I want the live-in tech support, I have to have a Mac.
Oh, that's pretty funny. Okay. She has live-in tech support. We highly recommend that if you can swing it.
I have live-in tech support too. You can't beat it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's unfair. I'm the only one who does it.
No, I don't. This guy over here is no help. That dog is there. No, so it's me or, that's it. Now, internet is important. So when I used to live near the ocean, my internet wasn't that reliable and it was a huge pain. So just make sure your internet is reliable because of everything you're doing, but especially if you're having online meetings with your clients. There's nothing worse than a really fuzzy, digitized, blah. So, invest in some high-speed internet. Basic computer skills. We sometimes have members who join us at AWAI to learn copywriting, and they really aren't familiar with basic computer skills. And what we say to them is, local adult ed classes or online video tutorials can really take you far. We don't really teach how to use Word or how to use the internet. Classes will do that for you, but clients would expect it. Clients would expect you to know how to use email, websites, all of that stuff.
I have one on that. A couple of years ago in the Professional Writers Alliance, we had an activity based around improving your typing skill and going back and redoing the online tutorials for typing. And at first you're like, well, that's silly. I learned typing when I was in school. Well, not everyone did.
No.
Some people are still one-finger typers. And if you can improve your typing speed, you'll finish projects faster. You'll feel more confident on your computer as you go along. And that just shows through everything. And I went back and did it with them. And I'm a fast and accurate typer, and it helps so much. So, and those classes are free. So.
Oh, cool. So just go to professionalwritersalliance.com and look for that.
You can look for that, or just Google typing tutorial or typing games. I'm teaching my 5-year-old to type right now, and we play a lot of kind of fun games actually to learn to type. Way more fun than when I learned in school.
Wow, I have to admit to being the world's fastest hunt and peck typist. I'm just so used to it now that I am very fast, and I'm grateful for spell check, but I'm pretty good anyway. But whatever works for you, there are lots of different options. The other thing I wanted to mention is a headset. I don't have mine on because I've got a webcam here that has excellent sound. Hopefully you can hear me well. But sometimes a headset is really going to help you to keep distractions out and that sort of thing. I noticed that Heather is using earbuds with a microphone built in. So whatever works for you, something so your clients can hear you very well. But not necessary. I mean, most laptops come with built-in. So as a starting point, this is just extra stuff here that you can add, including a webcam if you need a separate webcam. Since I teach all day, I need a really good webcam. But the one built into your computer is probably sufficient too. So, all right. Now, software and programs, like I said, we were talking just before we went live that in my 8 million years of doing this, I don't think I've had one client ever that wasn't using Word, ever. And it's so weird because I know Lisa and Jen have different experiences. And why don't you guys chime in on that?
Well, most of my clients do use Word, but I do have other partners where we do Google Docs when we're sharing and editing and stuff back and forth. So, but still Word is my #1 go-to as well.
Yeah. So I used, originally I used OpenOffice, which is a totally free software. And the thing is, if you go under your Save drop-down tab on both OpenOffice or Google Docs, it will let you save as a Microsoft document or .doc or .docx, I think is the
current
option.
one.
You can also save as a PDF. And what I liked about that, at the time that I started writing, I was super broke. And so I bought a really cheap laptop, and it was a PC, and I didn't want to pay for the Word Office suite. So I used OpenOffice, which was free. It also has predictive typing in it, which is an amazing feature, especially if you work for clients that have long business names and you type them over and over. It can also help you get faster. But all of those tools are out there, and just having the flexibility sometimes to go between one or the other, and to recognize that now, I mean, it was kind of a thing before that Macs weren't as compatible with PCs. Sorry, I'm at my parents, and I realized that the doorbell chime is not unplugged. But now everything really talks to each other. So the main thing as you're doing it is figure out what your clients want. And you can even ask them, do you prefer a document? Do you want it in a PDF? And they'll tell you. Often they have their own standards, and you just adapt.
Yeah. The joke nowadays is that Microsoft Word actually works better on a Mac than it does on a PC, because the Mac is just so stable. But I find about half and half of my clients, about half prefer to work in Word. The other half prefer to work in Google Documents, and Word is like I was telling everybody before we started, that's just my native habitat. That's where I'm relaxed. It's easy for me to get in the zone there. So I do everything in Word, but you can just copy and paste a Word doc into Google Docs, and the formatting just lifts right over. Like Jen was saying, it's super compatible. So it's very easy to move back and forth between programs.
Yeah, and the one cool thing about Google Docs I know is that people can edit together live on the spot, or make changes into one place so that you can see what they updated. And that's really cool and useful at times. I mean, I use Google Docs as a Word version, and they've been adding features that Word offers, like track changes and things like that. So you can see what the changes were. If you turn that on, you can see who made the change, just the way you can with Word. So it's getting more of an even playing field, which is cool. But again, one of those you should be proficient with, because their clients are counting on you to know your stuff when it comes to how you deliver copy and how you accept changes to the copy. So the other thing too is that email, we're going to talk about choosing an email name, mailbox name, and all that stuff in a minute, but just make sure you have some email, whether it's Gmail or a business email through a hosting company, which we'll talk about in a second. So these are just critical things. You can do a lot more, and we actually will talk about some other tools that all of you guys use in a minute, but today, smartphone is king. We know that 50% or more of people are using smartphones on a daily basis to use search or look at email and things like that. So, some sort of smartphone would be ideal for you. And you can check messages on the go. Like Heather said, when she go to the park, she can still work. There are lots of apps that make work easier. For example, I use Dropbox to store all my files securely with a login, and I can access that on my phone. So like somebody will say, can you send me that photo of a dog? Because I work in the veterinary industry, and I don't have to wait till I get home. I've got it on my phone in Dropbox. So that's a cool thing too, and that saves all your stuff. And it's behind a login, so it's secure. But that's what I do. I save it on the cloud. So it's always at my fingertips. Okay.
I'm a little bit anti-connectivity when I'm away from the office. So I tend to make my clients wait if I'm out and about. To me, that's healthier for me, but everybody is different, and you'll have different clients too. Some are working very close to, they have very fine deadlines. So if you're in that situation, what Pam is talking about becomes absolutely necessary. And having a smartphone, there's, like Jen was saying, being able to look and see what something looks like on the phone is really important, because your clients are doing that. And there are all sorts of helpful tools on that phone, which are which are good to have.
Yeah. So speaking of other helpful tools, everybody weighed in on stuff they're using also, in addition to the core basics. So Heather, tell me about Buffer for social media. What's that for?
Buffer is a really simple, so I manage a couple of different social media accounts for Wealthy Web Writer, and Buffer is just a really simple scheduling and analytics tool for your social media. So it's linked up to Twitter and it's linked up to Facebook, and I can go in there and I can say, hey, I want to post this on Wednesday afternoon at 3 o'clock, and then I don't have to think about it. It will go out on Wednesday afternoon at 3 o'clock, and then I can also see all in one place where things have been shared, how often they've been shared, how many people are seeing them, what posts are performing well, like what topics are resonating with my audience. The reason I like Buffer is that it's very intuitive and very simple. I don't think it's probably as robust as Hootsuite. A lot of people will recommend Hootsuite, and Hootsuite is an excellent tool. You guys might be getting the impression I kind of like to go stripped down, and Buffer is just a little bit more stripped down.
Okay, cool. Lisa, you mentioned a couple. One I'd never heard of, Tape a Call Pro.
Yeah, so when I do case studies, or even when I'm interviewing a new client for a prospecting call or anything like that, I like to tape the call because I want to make sure that I catch everything. And I have a hard time taking notes while I'm talking and asking questions and stuff. So there's a little app that you can download on there. I'm sure Tape a Pro is one of a gazillion apps available, so I'm not promoting it necessarily. It's really easy. You type the number in and you hit the button, and then you bring them into your call, and it tapes and saves your call for a certain amount of time so you can go back and listen to it. You should know, though, by the way, just before you tape anybody, what the rules in your state are in terms of notifications. I always tell people I'm going to tape them regardless, and get their permission. But there are laws around that, so you need to be cognizant of what those are. To me, I go back and listen, and then I'm like, oh, I didn't pick that up, or you pick specific wording up. And anybody who's been writing copy for a while knows a lot of copy comes straight out of the client's mouth, right? So if you've got exactly what they said in that call and you put that in there, and they're like, that is a great idea, and you're like, that's awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. And then project management software, I think that there are options. There are boards like Trello and Slack and Asana and things like that, but also Excel. Just use a spreadsheet. Yep.
Or even just a paper planner where you put the tasks out. It doesn't have to be high tech, but it can be. I recommend, the more clients you have, the more complex the project you have something that helps you manage everything so you don't drop any balls.
I was going to say, I still have an old school day timer. I live by this thing.
Yeah.
But I don't use it for project management. I use it more for scheduling things and keeping track of contacts and things like that. Like the old Palm Pilots. Who remembers that?
Yeah.
All right, Jen, you had some thoughts too of things you use?
Yeah. So a lot of my clients are all over the country. I have very few local clients.
Right.
Like I'm working on a project now with a group. Part of them are in Ireland. Some of them are in Colorado. Normally I'm in Michigan. Now I'm in Nebraska. So to just coordinate when we need to hop on for something quick, we're doing video calls.
Yeah.
And video conferencing these days is cheap and easy, and your clients expect to be able to just like hop on and talk real quick. Or at least my clients do. And so we've used Skype, FaceTime are both free. You can Zoom for free for the first 40 minutes without having to pay. So as you're getting into it, find a system that you like that's free. Like I kind of tell people to wait to invest in a lot of fancier versions of some of the software until you know if you're going to use it.
Right.
Good advice.
Because it's very, there's so many shiny, beautiful things out there that you could buy But all you really need is some way to have a video call. And, if your client also uses an iPhone, you can just FaceTime them.
Yeah.
And you can do 2- and 3-way calls on some of that. And there's online tutorials for all of that. So.
And sometimes clients have Zoom accounts that go longer than 45 minutes. So just ask them, if you want to Zoom, can we use your link? Is that okay? And most of the time they'll be like, sure, whatever, that's fine. We use Zoom for so much at AWAI, for classes, for meetings, brainstorming, copy, all kinds of things. It's just fun to see face-to-face and work together that way. It's funny because many of the first years of my freelance career, I worked with clients I never met or saw because they were over, they were all over the country, and nobody had video cameras yet on their computers or anything. And we would just work, electronically without ever seeing each other. And now it's so nice to actually put a face to the name and work together that way. It's pretty awesome. I was just going to add Evernote or any kind of reminder app. Some of them are free that just help you keep track of things. Like if you're walking down shopping with your sister or something and you go, oh, I don't want to forget this great idea I had for a promo or something. And you can just slap it into Evernote and go on your merry way because it works on the phone and your desktop. So, okay. We have a lot to cover, so I'm going to be a bit, okay. Talking about Workspace. Now, you think, oh, I need a fancy office. I need to get a big fancy desk. I need a fancy this and that. I just wanted to show you how simple a setup you can have. I usually have my office in a big sunroom that is like a 3-season sunroom. And this winter was weirdly cold down here in North Carolina, so I could not work in there. I'm still in my regular living room, but this is my setup I'm sitting at right now. All it is a cart on wheels with 2 levels, and I use a big monitor because I'm old and I need to see stuff. And all I have is a laptop hooked to a big monitor with a mouse and a keyboard. Bada boom, bada bing. That's it. I need nothing else. A comfy chair, and that's really it. And anything else is gravy. I have found that I have more stuff in my big office, but I haven't missed it or needed it. It's really just basic stuff, which is so wonderful about our industry. I mean, maybe this is even more than you need. Like Heather said, she doesn't want a separate monitor, so she works on her laptop. I love the big monitor. So it's totally up to you. I just thought it would be fun to see our offices. So that's mine. I'm going to show a couple of others. Here's one of my favorites, Jen. Tell us about your office and your office assistant there.
Well, yeah. So this is actually, it's 2 versions of the same setup, basically. I have a table from IKEA. I have the one my kid is sitting in was the time I was using an extra chair from the kitchen table. And the other is my mother's sewing chair that she gave to me. I have actually found that I prefer working in uncomfortable chairs because it reminds me to get up. I do, because of my other caregiving responsibilities, I'm often not doing like an 8-hour stretch or like a long work day. I'm working for 90 minutes at a time. And usually I'm doing that in 2 writing sprints with kind of an email break in the middle. And so having a chair that I can't get comfortable in reminds me, focus, do your work, then get up and go. I have a lamp that also doubles as my cell phone charger. I've loved that. And, for a lot of the video calls, you need a little extra lighting sometimes, especially late at night. My main office upgrade is I got a mouse to go with my keyboard. This was super fancy, like $10 on Amazon.
Yeah, me too.
It really helped save my hands. And then all the rest are what I call my psychic support papers. Sometimes I need to feel like I'm a writer. And having a lot of paper around me makes me feel very comfortable. But I will be honest with you, many of those files remain untouched for years at a time.
Awesome. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that's my space.
Hi, little cutie in the chair. Yes. All right, now Lisa is much more.
Oh my God, Lisa, I want your desk.
I know, really.
So this desk I had, my husband got this for me like decades ago, right? Because I wanted a roll top desk. So this was my present from way before I ever thought about becoming a copywriter. And it is probably my favorite piece of furniture. I absolutely love my desk.
Oh.
Look at all those cubbies. I have a cubby envy.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then you said your Zen spot on the right there helps you.
Yeah. So my desk is against an inside wall, and then directly behind my desk is a bay window where we've got like bird feeders out front and everything. And if you can see that brown multi-level thing, that's my cat's little climbing thing. So when I'm working at my desk and I'm not getting progress, like I'm feeling like I'm just stuck somewhere, I turn around and I just look at my little fountain there and the birds and the cat with his tail flipping all over the place, watching the birds and everything. And it just gives me a few minutes mental break. And then I can come back and write again. So I call it my writing Zen space, my plant. It's just a beautiful, relaxing place that just calms me and gets me back into my writing.
That's excellent. Good, good. Okay, now I'm going to always picture you there. Heather, tell us about, you know what caught my eye was the ball that you sit on. I could never be that. I'm always falling over, so I'm proud of you for doing it.
It's absolutely ruined me when I go. Sometimes I go and spend a week on site with a client and I have to sit in an office chair, and I come home and I'm like, my back hurts so much. So you can see I have like a very stripped down office space. I also have my psychic support papers. I love that term, Jem, and I'm going to use that forever. There are actually psychological studies that suggest when you have more clutter around you, you are more creative. So I feel very good about my.
To that is just a big
right. I feel very good about my clutter.
I must be very creative then. Awesome.
It's not a fancy space. I'm kind of a little bit messy. This is where my computer sits to charge. I probably spend somewhere between a quarter and a third of my workday in that space. And then I have just other little spaces all around the house that I will move to and sit when I need a change of scene. And so that's what you see, this other space at my dining room table with my nice birthday flowers. And it's funny, I felt like I was being difficult when I sent 2 pictures. So I was really glad that Jen and Lisa.
Oh, no, everybody did. Yeah. I'm the only one with 1, but that's okay. All right. Now, enough about equipment. We're going to move on to business structure options, which is a big question that new writers have. Should I incorporate? How do I do this? What is everybody else doing? And the answer is twofold. Keep it simple. You don't want to complicate your life right now. Just get started. I mean, I still do freelance, by the way. I have for 30 years. Mostly for the veterinary industry. And I started out as a sole proprietor, nothing fancy. I've never changed that. But for you to consider which way you want to go, you want to talk to someone local, because the local regulations per state, even, maybe even in your town, you have to get a business license, who knows? Definitely US versus outside of the US. There are all kinds of different guidelines on how to choose what you want for you. Legally, your legal structure, are you a LLC or whatever? Tax-wise, for sure. I would never, at AWAI, we never ever give tax advice because it's so individual where you are and what your whole financial setup is. But Heather did suggest a couple things, about keeping it simple, have a separate bank account. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So one of the best things that you can do, and when you do start earning money from this, is actually pretty imperative, I think, at least within the United States, no matter where you are, and that is to keep your business and your personal bank accounts separate. So any money that you collect from a client goes into the business account, and then you can pay yourself out of that account. And then it's good to have either a debit card tied to that business account or some kind of business credit card, and do your business expenses out of that account, and on that credit card, keep those separate from your personal expenses. That will make filing your taxes much, much easier. Your accountant will be much, much happier with you. And also, if, heaven forbid, you ever do get audited or somebody decides to sue you, any legal representation you have is going to have a much easier time protecting your personal assets if you've kept those things separate.
Yeah,
And I'm
I
not
would
a lawyer or an accountant or
No.
any type of person offering any professional advice.
I've freelanced in the US in several different states. I also lived overseas for 6 years in the middle of my freelance career as well, and just keeping good records.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you use QuickBooks or Xero or Google Docs, which is what I'm back to now. Just keep track is the main thing.
Yeah.
Keep receipts, the separate credit card or debit card or something to run all the business transactions through is very helpful. I have at times had different business structures, had subscriptions to all these accounting and invoicing, et cetera, tools. And I've actually rolled a lot of that back just to be simpler.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll find that in your own business as you get working, you'll discover where are your administrative pain points and where is it painless and easy for you to do things, and where do you need like a software system to make it painless and easy.
Yeah, and I know here at AWI, our members have a whole range of ways that they invoice us. For example, some create a PDF document and email it to us. Others have FreshBooks and send us the link. It's really up to what's comfortable for you. It's fine with us. It's fine with clients. Some clients, though, just so you're prepared, have a system where they will automatically deposit the money in your business account. I've had clients like that. They're like, well, we want to do bank draft. That's how we work. And so you don't want to fight them on that, because they're probably going to say, no, we don't do PayPal. We don't do this and that. We use a bank draft system where, you invoice us and we pay you into your account. So ask the client too what they prefer as far as that goes, because you never know what they would like to have. Anyway, okay.
Yeah.
Lisa, when it comes to figuring out how you wanted to establish your business structure, you sent me these notes about your journey. You want to explain it a little bit?
Yeah. So initially, when I started my copywriting journey, my intent was to write in financial or health, which is probably what a huge portion of people reading the AWAI sales letters want to do. And so score.org is like a small business organization where you can find a lot of resources on there.
It's a yeah. I just want to say it's a nonprofit. It's a volunteer.
It's a nonprofit, right? Yeah. Yeah, the .org, right. And then LegalZoom is they do all sorts of legal documents for small businesses and things like that. And they go at least across the US. I don't know if they're outside the US, but I talked to people, I talked to some local accountants and everything. And they all said, with the kind of copy that I had in mind, they thought it would be prudent to create a limited liability company to make sure that I couldn't get sued and lose my personal stuff. Whether that was the right counsel or not, that's what I chose to follow. And so I set up an S Corp LLC. It's a little more complex for taxes, so I hire an accountant to do my taxes, but it's really just a Schedule K1 that I end up adding to my regular tax return. And the great thing is that they told me a lot of things that I might not have been aware of in terms of, can you write off your office space or not? When can you do this? When can't you do that? And everything. So having never been a freelancer before, those resources and talking to them was really helpful to me to understand where the gotchas are so that I wouldn't have the IRS coming. I remember Ryan Dice at a Web Intensive saying one time that he made so much money and he didn't realize all of the tax implications, and he ended up owing the government $200,000. Right. So it's helpful to know, right? So ask questions and understand what the implications are of the decisions that you're making. That's really all this was really about.
And one cool thing that I just wanted to fling at you guys is, so when I started freelancing, I consulted a local accountant where I lived in Maine at the time. They're still my accountant 25 years later, but they had the most atrocious website on the planet. And they also were trying to do a client newsletter. So I said, hey, I have an idea. I'll write your website and I'll do your client newsletter and you do my taxes. And it was a beautiful relationship that still exists because we both benefit from that. So it's something you might want to consider. If you have an accountant or somebody helping you, maybe you can help them. So, okay, now I'm going to go to Jen's. Okay, you mentioned this, but maybe go in a little bit more detail.
Yeah. So when I first started freelancing, I was just like, what am I getting into? I had also not been a freelancer before. I came from a really corporate world, so it was very different. And then I almost immediately moved overseas, which is like a whole other ball of wax. And so the main thing is, I would get online and I would research all kinds of stuff, and I would think I understood something, but then I would find out that maybe I didn't. So just go ask somebody in your local community who's an expert, because you can spend a lot of time posting questions in public forums, but those people don't know you. And by the time you would give out the personal information that you would need to get a good answer in a public forum, you probably shouldn't be putting that stuff on the internet anyway. So just call an accountant or a tax strategist, depending what you're planning to go into, what your other assets might be, what your other life concerns might be. When I started my freelance business, I was single. Now I'm married with kids and I have a house and I have all these other things to consider. So it will evolve over time and you can change it too. Mm-hmm. So that is also one thing. I mean, some kinds of the incorporations, it's bureaucratically complex to shift them, but it's never impossible. Right. So if you make a choice now and you discover you need to make a different choice later, just roll with it. That's life. So
very good. Okay. So the upshot is consult with experts, because it's different for everyone. Every single one has a different one of us has a different life situation, financial situation, place where we live, guidelines based on the places where we live, ways that we work. I mean, we've had a lot of questions about working with international clients, and I'm going to work on a resource for those of you outside of the US. Jen, maybe you can help me with that.
Because I work with international clients now. Yeah. And when I lived overseas, my clients were also not in the US. So,
so that's another topic we'll get to at some point, but I just wanted to hammer home, work with someone who understands your specific situation. All right, business name and email considerations. We get those questions a lot. Like, what should I name my business? Should it be Pam Foster copywriting.com, which I had way back in the day, or should it be mybusinessname.com, which might be, writingforyou.com or something like that. So I thought we would look at both scenarios. And you guys can chime in if you want, just raise your hand, get my attention. But basically, the yourname.com is certainly one way to go. And Bob Bly is one of the most famous yourname.com copywriters. His is just bly.com, but he hangs his hat on his name. He has built a name for himself, a reputation, a personality that's Bob's alone, and he will always have that reputation out there because he's authored like over 100 books and just crazy, and it's unique to you. So there might be another Bob Bly on the planet, and actually we know there is, a poet, I think, but it's very likely that if you share a name with someone, like my name's pretty common, Pam Foster, but I think I'd be the only Pam Foster copywriter.com. So look it up, check it out, see if your name's available, or add writer or copywriter or something like that, or marketing, and go that route. It's perfectly acceptable and fine. The other alternative is a business name, and there are pros to that as well. So when I decided to go after the vet and veterinary, the pet and veterinary world, I decided to be petcopywriter.com. And what was cool about that is that clients instantly were like, I need a writer in the pet industry. Oh my gosh, here's petcopywriter.com. I need to talk to that person. And it was amazing. Like, they would instantly know who I write for, instantly know what I do. I didn't have to explain what Pam Foster copywriting is. Petcopywriter.com is like, boom, who you serve, what I do. And then it seemed also like it could be, if you go with a name like that, bigger than one person. So if you add on staff or want to farm out, you can say we take care of all your pet copywriting needs, which may give some clients comfort, maybe. But the big thing is, and Nick Usborne was the one who really got me to think about this. He's in charge of, you know, a lot of our web programs here at AWAI. He coached me on this. He said, life can change and you may want to sell your business at some point. And if it's just your name, you can really never do that because it's your name, you're the person. Like Bob Bly, I don't know if he can sell Bob Bly to somebody else, but with petcopywriter.com, I actually was able to. When I started working full-time at AWAI, I couldn't be in two places at once. So I decided I can't keep petcopywriter.com going. And lo and behold, a member who's a veterinary professional decided she would like to take that on. And so we came to an agreement. And now Dr. Tammy Powell is petcopywriter.com. That happened 3 years ago. She's doing great, amazing, all that reputation and copy that I built, the content, the blogs, everything she took over. And it's been great for her. So you have to weigh what you want to do. And you can change down the road, of course. You can start out as your name like I did and then switch once you really focus on a niche or a service you want to offer. Like Gordon Graham is the whitepaperguy.com, you know, and he can have other writers of white papers in his tribe. But so those are the two options, really. There might be other options too, but those are the main ones. Pros and cons of each. Don't know if you guys want to weigh in on those. Heather, you have any thoughts on that?
I'm going to defer to Lisa first because I saw her hand go up at one point.
Oh, I just wanted to do a shout out because Dr. Tammy Powell was our reality blogger for B2B Writing Success right prior to our existing one. And we love Dr. Tammy Powell, and we were very excited to hear that she had bought that, and she's doing really well. So I just wanted to give a shout out to that. But as far as the business name goes, we actually have some content on B2B Writing Success around that topic. You know, what should you call your name and everything, and it's SEO focused, right? Does the SEO help or not? Yes. But does it have more weight than your own name? Not really. Not enough to make it worth it. So you still, the decision still is, where do you think you want to go?
Right.
Right.
I'll add some other things. So my name, Jennifer Adams, is common. It was Jennifer, the most common name the year I was born. Also very popular.
Yeah.
My name was not and has never been available for me to buy. Not Jennifer Adams is a line of .com is a line of sheets and linens at Costco. JenAdams.com is a retired person in Arizona who will not sell me that domain.
Yeah.
Jenna Adams writer writes books. Like there's a volleyball coach. There's like I have met lots of Jen Adams. I can never brand as my name. I have another option as my married name. But by the time I got married, I had already been freelancing for like 8 years.
Yeah.
I had established relationships with the name I was born with. I didn't want to rebrand there either. So a couple of things with that. If you think at some point you might be changing your name because of a change in your life situation, don't use your name. Or, stick with a working name and have a personal name too. Our society now is a lot more public, private. There are things you may want to consider. If you're building a business where you might do coaching or guru in that way, having a business writing name and a personal name can be to your advantage as you kind of go along with that. And the other thing is if you pick a name for a business like petcopywriter.com, and then you change your niche, you can just start another business with a different name and have them both. So don't feel, sometimes I think people get really excited about their writing name or their business name, but the important thing is to get clients. So build a client relationship. You can change your name 30 times as long as your client knows they're going to get good quality work from whoever answers that email or call. So
Yeah, and if you're interested in, oh, sorry, I just wanted to throw in, if you're interested in learning more about focusing on a niche and having a niche name and all that stuff, we have a couple of Inside AWAI sessions on that. One is the easiest way to choose a niche, and the other one is how to build a magnetic website. And look through those too if you're really stuck, you know, because we go into it in way more detail than we can right now. So.
I was going to say, this is one of those things that I find writers, when you're new to this, there is some comfort in having things that you have to do before you get to what Jen just mentioned, which is getting clients. Getting clients makes a lot of people nervous. If you're one of them, that's totally okay. You're normal. But we find kind of speed bumps that we can sort of latch onto so that we don't have to get to that moment where we put ourselves out there and get clients. So what I always suggest is just recognize, just pause and be like, you know, if I'm having a hard time picking a name, why is that? Is it because I'm really having a hard time picking a name, or is it because I recognize that when I pick a name, I now have to take the next step and I'm nervous about the next step? If you're nervous about the next step, just acknowledge to yourself, this is totally normal to be nervous about the next step, but I do have to take it. And then pick a name. Like Jen said, you can change that, you know, if you need to, and keep moving forward.
Well, you know, it's funny because I was PamFosterCopywriting.com, and then I changed it to ContentClear.com, which is still my website that's freelance, because I write content. So that's what I called it, and it's still valid, and so that's fine. And the pet one, I was very niche focused. So you can do a variety of things if you want. Okay. Deciding, you know, so I just run it really quickly. Steve Maurer, he named his business Steve Maurer Freelance Writing, but he has niched himself all over his website as the B2B industrial manufacturing copywriter. So if you don't pick something like petcopywriter.com, but you're still very focused in an industry, there are many other ways to market yourself, position yourself, get SEO traffic. And that's what he's done with copy on his site explaining who he works for. So the takeaways are, your website name should be easy to remember and spell, and not cutesy, I wouldn't say. You know, we're professionals and clients are looking for professional writers. So that's really our quick takeaway. Don't overthink it. Email, quickly. Gmail is fine, but sometimes, you know, clients may question how professional a business is if it's just a Gmail free account or something like that. And, you know, email address with a domain name is best, because then it really looks like you're a pro. Mine is Pam@ContentClear.com. And Jen said that, you know, Google Business offers name@name.com email addresses for as little as $6 a month, which is a very small drop in the bucket investment to have a professional sounding name. So we're just throwing that out there. I'm not going to go deep on that. Just look as professional as you can. Marketing basics. Wow, we have spent many hours on marketing yourself as a copywriter, and we go very much in depth on a bunch of Inside AWAI sessions on that. So we're going to be very quick here in this section, and then in the working with clients section of this today topic, because we just want to touch on what you need to know so that you can then explore further. So marketing basics, the top 3. There are many. There are 26 ways you can market yourself, and even more, and we have a whole session on that, trust me. But if we were just going to take the top 3 things, a statement of who you serve and what you offer would be the great place to start, because then everywhere you market yourself, you have that clarity for yourself. And so I'm showing an example here. Chuck Warren, he's an AWAI member. His statement on LinkedIn is freelance B2B technology writer for IT services, security, hardware, and software builders and sellers. That's it. He's like an IT guy, and he writes for B2B, business to business companies in that space. Bada boom, bada bing. We know what Chuck's all about in what, 10 words? Boom. If you can do something like that for yourself, what you write, who you serve, that will help you get going. You can change it later, as we always said. I think Chuck did. He used to write for the boating industry, and he went, you know what? My whole background is IT. I could make a lot more money in IT, and that's what he's doing. LinkedIn profile is a biggie, because clients are there every day. I'm going to show you in a second some mind-blowing stats on that. looking for writers, they're there. And then a website eventually, when you can. You should have a website because you're writing digital copy and clients will expect that. So here are a couple of examples of statements. As an avid gardener, I help landscape companies grow their sales, little pun there, via my content writing services. So now we know that this person is great for landscape companies because they have a gardening background and they're writing content. Boom, match for landscape companies who need content. Second one, we get this a lot. I used to be a teacher. What can I do now? Here's an example. As an experienced teacher, I help education and training companies grow their sales via my digital copywriting services. Lisa, tell me your statement from your background working as call center and customer service corporate promo. Yeah.
You're going to call me out on that because I don't have that right at the tip of my.
Well, roughly though, I think you said to me that, you know,
I'm right. I'm a managing editor for B2B Writing Success and a freelance marketer and copywriter focusing on education and training. That's,
there you go. Okay.
That's my statement. Yeah.
Okay. Heather, do you have a statement like that?
Yeah. As a user experience copywriter, I help businesses who want to put their customers first.
Ooh, user experience copywriter. We have a whole, do we have an inside AWI on that yet?
Not
I think
yet.
we have it blended
Maybe we
in.
do.
I think we have it blended in with 3 emerging topics. If you look for 3 emerging hot topics, UX or user experience is one of them, and Heather was on that. Cool. Jen, I know you don't pigeonhole yourself, so maybe you don't have one.
I do have a short statement I tell people, which is that I am a long form copywriter specializing in sales letters and the associated collateral, because sometimes clients are really looking for somebody who can do a specific type of project.
Yep.
Not a specific niche of project, because as we all know, I don't niche.
I don't niche either. I'm with you, Jen.
That's fine. There's room for everyone.
Specializing is a good alternative to niching. Absolutely.
Yep. Okay, so here's my eye-opening moment here. Where are the clients, right? A lot of them are on LinkedIn. They are professionals. They're on LinkedIn connecting. They're on LinkedIn searching. Marketing directors, creative directors, ad agency managers. They are on there every day looking for writers. How do I know? Because LinkedIn has a job section. If you type in the word writer, and this is just United States, I came up with, I'm going to squint, 23,662 jobs right now, like 2 days ago, for writers of all kinds. Full-time, senior level, part-time, remote, new, bloggers, video scripts, you name it. There are jobs on LinkedIn of all kinds. And so if you're on LinkedIn, and I've seen this happen almost every day, the job descriptions usually say it would be ideal if you have a background in boating or education or finance or whatever it is the client sells, because they love that. So Chuck there, who writes for IT companies, an IT person who's searching online for an IT copywriter may find him. Same with Steve Maurer, B2B, same with UX, Heather, you know, Lisa, education and training, there's a match. And the more you can help clients make that match and recognition that you're the one for them, it's beautiful. So LinkedIn profile is huge. And we have a whole inside AWI, there's the link right there on the screen on getting great writing clients via LinkedIn. So check that out if you want to dig deep on that. Here's Lisa's beautiful profile on LinkedIn. And she had read us her title. She's the managing editor of B2B Writing Success, but she's a freelance marketing copywriter focusing on education and training. So that's her focus. Beautiful. Then the website, this is Julia Borghini's awesome website. She's a tech writer out of Canada. Very simple, very cool. I love it. But she says it's time for easy tech copy. So she's talking to the IT tech client that she works with. You can keep it simple. It doesn't have to be this cumbersome, daunting thing to create a website. It can be very simple. And we have an Inside AWAI link there on how to create your own magnetic website for clients. It doesn't have to be complicated. The easiest way to get started, we all kind of, with our notes together, Lisa, Jen, Heather, and I, first, tell people you're a copywriter. Get out there and tell people. We have a wonderful teacher in our midst called Michael Katz, and he teaches this thing about who's your inner circle who already knows and loves you. Start there. They probably don't even know you're a writer. People you used to work with, people you do business with in town, family members, maybe a cousin runs a business. Tell everybody that you're a writer. Tell them how you can help them with your writing. Don't just say, hey, I'm a copywriter, hire me. No, say, if you've got a website that's not performing, I can help. If you're sending out emails and nobody's clicking, I can help. You want to always position how you can help solve that pain. Do you guys want to embellish any of this right now? Anybody?
No, that's
the more. Oh, go ahead, Lisa.
Go ahead, Heather.
I was going to say, the more conversations that you have, the better you're going to do. And that's a really good way to look at your marketing, is to think of it in terms of a conversation that might go somewhere, but not one that has to go somewhere. You're just getting to know people, and that's kind of fun.
Yep. And you don't want to push yourself. I mean, I've seen, hey, here's my business card. Want to hire me? You don't want to do that. You're establishing a relationship when you talk to people. They may need you now. They may need you 70 days from now. They may not need you, but they might refer you.
Yep.
So just establish relationships. And when you think of it that way, it's much easier. Mm-hmm. All right, we still have a whole section to go through on working with clients. So I'm going to whip forward, but basically keep going. We hear a lot of people who go, I don't have any clients yet. Well, what did you do? I sent out 20 emails. And then what? That's it. No. Keep going. You have to connect with more people on LinkedIn every week. You have to, send out more emails every week. You have to keep it going, because you just never know when the right connection will be made, where they go, aha, I totally need you now. Let's talk. So don't beat yourself up if people say no. If you send out 20 emails and you get nothing, crickets, don't worry about it. Was it Heather who you said, or I don't know who said, detach from the outcome? That's a wonderful piece of advice, because, you can't beat yourself up or think, well, I have a great quick scenario where John Stoltzfus, an AWI member, came to our boot camp one year and submitted 3 or 4 specs to these major companies. And he didn't hear anything for months. So he thought, oh my God, they hate me. Well, no, marketers are busy. They had their own thing going on. And Eagle Financial Publishing reached out to him, I think it was like 3 to 4 months after he'd submitted the spec, and said, oh, we've been so busy, but we finally had a chance to look at your spec and we love it. We want to work with you. So you never know, and you can't take it personally, because marketers are busy people. We are. We get samples or submissions from people and we're so busy. I'm sure you guys experience that too. Yeah, Jen.
It's just a little laugh, yeah. Well, and the point you're about to make about giving whatever system you choose time to work, the Professional Writers Alliance, we're all about getting clients. And so about every month, we're talking about a different way you can use to get clients.
Right.
The main thing is just pick one and try it for 3 to 4 months. And if you're not getting traction with it, be like, okay, it was an experiment. I tried. Now I'm going to do something else. Because you just want to find the thing that works for you. All of these systems can work.
Yeah.
They may not necessarily work overnight. The first time you try it, in 2 days, you have to kind of work it for a little bit. And we just finished running a writing challenge for PWA that involved testing out different client methods, and you were supposed to pick one and try it. And we had there were 4 choices, and several people wrote in and said, I tried all 4 and none of them really worked for me. And I'm like, I saw the problem in the first one. When you're trying to do too many things, you don't do any of them well. Right. And so it's like, pick one, give it 3 or 4 months, pick the next one. I know, I remember being there. You want a yes right away. It doesn't always happen. But as long as you continue having conversations, you will get there. And it may mean that cold email doesn't work for the niche that you've picked. It might mean that Facebook Messenger is a secret gold mine for you. It might be that holy cow, you're going to have to delete your LinkedIn profile because too many people reach out to you. Or it might be that what you really need to do is just hang out in coffee shops and talk to people. Like, you will find the thing that works for your space, but like, don't try to do all of them at once.
Right.
So
good point. Good. That's why I tried to pick the top 3, like just start those and then keep going. But Jen brought up something great, and we'll give you the links at the end or remind you of where to find Wealthy Web Writer, B2B Writing Success, and PWA. Actually, just Google them and you'll find the websites. But each one is pretty cool. Now, we have a few more slides to get through. I'm going to kind of, these were, again, ideas that were collected from the 4 of us. So from Heather, she, plan questions in advance for a discovery call that you would be asking. And the big thing that I think all of us would say is when you're talking to a new prospective client, listening is just as important as asking questions, because the way the client responds, you may shift the way the conversation goes, and one of the key questions is, how is your current marketing working for you? And that you might become a therapist. I've seen that with when I'm being called about a website that isn't working, they're just like, oh, we just spent all this money on a designer and it's not bringing in any traffic. Well, that's because nobody wrote the copy. But just listen, and it will give you clues onto how you can answer with a solution. Not a solution right away, like I will write this for you, but just I can help you. I understand totally what to do. And then Heather, proposals. I'll let you walk through this real quickly if you could.
Okay. So once you get through the discovery call, if you and the client determine that you're a good fit, that you can help them, the next step is to put together a proposal. And it's really helpful, particularly when you're starting out, to use a template. I know AWAI has a wonderful packet of templates called the Essential Business Templates that you can use. But when you're using a template, it's very, very important that you customize it to the particular situation. So you want to make sure that you summarize the goals and the background info. That all comes from the discovery call. Then you're going to define the scope, and you want to provide some detail with what you'll be doing for each piece that you're providing them, because you want them to see the meat and the value that you're offering. Describe your time frame and your fee structure. And generally speaking, this actually works also as my contract. I say something to the effect of, sign this if you agree to it, and we'll move forward when I've received your initial deposit. And you can also use FreshBooks or something like it to create these proposals.
Cool.
And FreshBooks is good for invoicing.
Yes. Okay, now Lisa, very similar. Just something that piqued my interest that's a little different is you have a website form where they can fill out their interests. So tell me about that.
It's just my contact form, right? But it helps qualify them to say, what is it that you're interested in, and so it helps me understand what they're looking for before I then get on the discovery call with them, and sometimes they'll write like a book in there, but it really helps me understand where they're coming from.
Cool. And then you do online invoicing through PayPal or your own?
Yeah, so I do. It really all depends on the client. I've had clients where they actually have an invoicing system, and I go in to their system and create it. Okay. I have some clients, especially the small clients, where I invoice them through PayPal, and they pay through PayPal because they're using a credit card or something like that. And if they're using if a bigger company, then I just generate my own invoice and submit it to them.
All right. And I see also in your bullet points rate sheet. Now, typically, it's not something we send the client, but it's something to help us create a budget.
Right.
So,
right. Yes. Yeah. So I have a rate sheet. Yeah, I have a rate sheet that reminds me where my range is, but it's not something I ever share with a client. All of my quotes are custom quotes.
Yeah. And the reason we do that, you guys, is because we don't want to be seen as a commodity, like on those websites like Upwork or whatever, where they want the lowest bidder. We don't want to present ourselves that way. We are consulting as professional writers, and we want to put together a thoughtful proposal that's custom for the client. They're not just shopping from a menu. They're buying wisdom who, from someone who knows what they're doing and really wants to help, that sort of thing. So, all right, Jen, you had, let me think here, similar things, but I love your last bullet there, if you want to address that.
Yes. When I first started out, I agonized over these forms and were they sending the right message? Were they saying the right thing about me? Would my client judge my professionalism or my skills? All of those things. Many of my clients never read what I sent them. They just signed the bottom and said, let's get started. That was mortifying to my very contract and detailed oriented soul. That is indeed how it goes. I am in client relationships right now that I have been in for years. We have no signed contract. We have no whatever. The money just shows up every month. It's magic. And also, again, mortifying. But, a lot of times if you're very concerned about contracting with a client and whether or not you'll get paid, it's kind of a red flag sometimes that the real issue isn't the contract, it's trust between you and them. And if you're not working in relationships of trust, maybe get some different clients.
Yeah, the contract isn't going to help with that. Okay.
Right. That's the thing. One thing I will say, as you're pricing and doing all of this, it's a phrase I'm going to borrow from someone else. It's like, be comfortably expensive. We're very concerned about our pricing because it's us like, oh my gosh, is this business owner going to freak out if I send them an invoice for $1,000? Because we personally might freak out over a bill for $1,000. Business owners are paying like $10,000 a month for their phone systems.
Yeah.
Your $1,000 invoice for 3 blog posts is not raising any eyebrows for anyone. In fact, if it were lower, they might be concerned. Can you really do it? So be comfortably expensive.
Yep. And we have a free pricing guide on our website. If you go to awai.com, you can search pricing guide in the search box and you'll find it. And we update it every year with 75 different projects, pricing ranges that you can work from. Okay, other tips. We each had one for you to take away with. So Heather, go ahead. You're first.
I think mine is actually 4.
Yeah, okay,
taking action is the most important thing. The copywriters that I know that are succeeding, that are building a business, that are leaving their jobs and making a comfortable income for this are the ones who take action even when they're not comfortable. I know a lot of writers who will eventually get there, but they're still in the, I'm gonna. And until you start going from I'm gonna to I am, you're going to be spinning your wheels. And it's okay if you spin your wheels for a little while. That's totally okay. You'll get there, but focus on that taking action. Embrace being uncomfortable. This is how you stretch. This is how you grow. Don't take anything personally. You have to be willing to get a no if you want to get a yes. Yeah. And so you're going to put yourself out there. Some people are going to ignore you. It's not because they don't like you. It's not because they think you're unprofessional. It's because they are busy and they don't have a need for you right now. Also okay. And Jen mentioned this earlier, running those experiments. Start working really hard to develop an experimental, I can say this word, mindset. Take the success and failure out of it. That's not what you're doing. You're trying things, you're learning, you're refining, and you're adjusting and trying again, or you're scrapping it and trying something else. And you're always learning. So it's always a success. Yep. So just take that mindset forward.
Cool. Okay, Jen, you're up.
Yes, it's like you won't be perfect as you start. You launch and you're like, you may know just enough about the writing business to be like, oh my gosh, I'm awful. Don't be like that. You will improve. Like the famous writers of the past, we do not have their first drafts, but I guarantee you there are misspellings. The characters are terrible. It was not persuasive. It did not work. So, as you start this, you've probably never been a professional copywriter or content writer before.
Right.
This is your first time. It takes practice. So.
Yep. And the other thing I'd like to add to that is that please know that most clients have no idea how copywriting works, which is why they need you. I have my beloved accountant that I have done his website. And one time I was sitting with him and saying, okay, so we're going to take each page and we're going to optimize it locally because you're in Maine, da, 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 da. And he goes, now what is a page again? Mm-hmm. They don't know. You can't assume they're very sophisticated or they know how any of this works. They need you, and you know a lot more than they do. just know right today, starting out, if you're studying anything about copywriting, you're already knowing more than they do because they're not studying copywriting. So don't worry about when will I be ready. You're ready now. You're ready as soon as you begin learning what works. So just keep that in mind. Your customers, your clients do not know this stuff like we do. So, okay, Lisa, take it away.
I just want to go back to one point Jen made about growing and getting there. At Clayton's tribute yesterday that Carlene hosted, one of the, I can't remember who said it, but it was brilliant. It might have been Carlene. Never compare your first draft with a Clayton Makepeace's 16th draft. Yeah. Right? They don't look at all the same, right? So be aware that you have to take those steps, right? I just thought that was a brilliant piece of advice, and I wrote it down, and I'm going to post it. Because it helps with imposter syndrome, right? Oh my God, yeah. I can't write like that. Well, they didn't write like that either to begin with.
No.
I have formed peer or accountability groups. Actually, to both Heather and Jen's point, this is new for most copywriters. And you've got all these doubts swimming around in your head and you're not sure you can do it. You suffer from imposter syndrome. When you have a group of other writers that you can talk through those things with, and they can say, I read your copy, it's good, right? You're a good writer, just keep going, or, you know, that kind of, it really helps to have other people going through a similar experience that you're going through that can reinforce the good and help pick you back up when you hit some of those roadblocks that, you know, if you had to struggle with on your own might actually stop you.
Yeah, that's actually huge. And that's what a big part of what AWAI is about. We have our social media groups because the community is everything. It's not a competitive community. There are more than enough clients to go around. Trust me. If you look on LinkedIn, 23,000 jobs or whatever, it's one of the most generous and helpful communities I've ever seen. And Heather and Lisa and Jen also manage social media accounts tied to their sites. And it's amazing how helpful people are to each other. Classmates, you know, people from beginners to advanced to us, staff, experts are on there at any time answering questions and giving guidance. So really take advantage of that. We are a community of writers who all rise together. So that's why we're here. Every month, we want to help you rise. It helps us. We've all come from a beginner place. Some of us longer than others. And, you know, I'm just going to wrap it up with a bow with take action, but make it attainable. Don't take on like, I'm going to be the world's best copywriter of SEO or UX like tomorrow. No, that's not. Take little steps that you can attain and progress with and build upon. And that's what is, I think, a key to everything. It's almost like, you know, when you think about weight loss, I'm going to lose 60 pounds by December. No, what are you going to do this week? What are you going to do today? What are you going to do tomorrow? What are you going to do by the end of this month? That is really the same for anything, learning a musical instrument, anything. So keep that in mind. You don't have to know it all at once. Your clients certainly don't, like I said. So just take it a step at a time and you will see progress. That's my final word on that. Okay, so we have some resources for you. We have a ton of articles, not only on awai.com. All of these slides, by the way, will be available to you on the Inside AI page. So you can find these again, but b2bwritingsuccess.com, professionalwritersalliance.com, and wealthywebwriter.com. Tons of articles on everything we talked about and more. And then again, these Inside AWAI sessions are every month, different topic, all related to getting clients or building your skills. Then finally, we do have some programs if you want to dig deeper. We have the Writer Starter Kit, which is a step-by-step path, 5 steps to figuring out if you're brand new, you know, what do I offer? What are the options? What kind of clients do I want to work for? How do I set up my business? What do I want to call it? Those kinds of things, the real basic beginning points. That's the link there. We also have a package of templates you can access for proposals, retainers, invoices, whatever you need. And then Build Your Website in 4 days is another wonderful tool for making that magnetic website that we've been talking about. So these links will be available for you in the slides when we post this replay on Inside AWAI. And with that, oh my gosh, we went over our hour, but I knew that was going to happen with these three ladies because there's so much to talk about. But we are happy to answer some key questions for the next 15 minutes. I know in Facebook, Katie and Melissa and others have been madly typing away, but Fran has been saving some for us to cover. Hi, Fran. Nice to see you.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for that wonderful session. It was packed with information, and you guys are getting a lot of thank yous from everyone. So definitely just want to say that.
Thank you all for attending. Yes.
Yeah.
One of the first questions we have for you guys today is from Roberta on Facebook. Roberta is asking, Pam, can you please comment on Upwork for obtaining jobs in addition to LinkedIn?
Well, I can only comment from what I've heard because I've never, I think, when it used to be called Elance or whatever it was called ages ago, was it called Elance, you guys?
It was Elance, and I actually started there, so I can
go, Jen. Okay.
I can talk to this a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
So there are all kinds of clients on Upwork and Elance, and you can absolutely pursue jobs there in addition to LinkedIn. I'm actually still working with a client that I got on Elance 13 years ago.
Wow.
The key to me in separating out on that platform, right? Really go after jobs that match your skill set where you can offer an advantage. Initially, when I was on the platform, I was just leaving my corporate HR job. And so I went after a lot of HR related content writing projects because I could then say to the client, I have the exact background that you're looking for. Here's how I can, write an excellent piece for you. Let's get this done. And as a result, I was not landing general bottom barrel projects. I was getting better work. And we very quickly transitioned off of the platform and into a direct relationship. There are some guidelines when you get work on Upwork. I think they own the client relationship for a certain period of time, and then you can transition off. So I was active on Elance for maybe like a year and a half, 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then by that point, I had enough independent client relationships that I didn't need to look for more work there.
Yep, and I know that Steve Maurer started out there too, and he was earning so little that he just completely quadrupled his rate by getting off of of that bidding site and following some of the other marketing approaches that we recommend. He works LinkedIn like crazy, and it works out so well for him. Again, Roberta, we have a whole session on how to work LinkedIn for your business, and it might be more fruitful for you, but there's nothing wrong with starting out with Upwork if you want to, dip your toe in and get some traction going.
Yes. I will also say I made over $25,000 on that platform before I left. So it is not bereft of opportunity, and a paying client is better than no client at all. So
yep. Yeah, whatever gets you going.
There is no shame in how you pay the bills. So.
No. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much. The next question we have is from our YouTube channel. Someone by the name of Mint and Honey is asking, if you plan to work for an agency, do you still need to set up a sole proprietorship or LLC? Not sure if you guys can speak to that.
Well, I quickly, as a sole proprietor, there's nothing really to set up. You just call yourself a sole proprietor. There's no form for that. But I worked for agencies a long time, B2B agencies mainly, and they didn't really ask about that. They don't care. They just want to know that you're a freelancer. You can help them. Here's our contract. You okay with that? Yep, fine, let's go. So that was my experience as a freelancer, as a sole proprietor. Now, I don't know the answer as far as LLCs and things like that go.
I've worked with agencies. I sometimes run my own business as an agency. I don't care what you are. I just care. There are two things I care about. Where do I need to send the money? And are you turning this project in on time or not? That's it.
Yeah.
So
I love that name, Mint and Honey.
Right? Doesn't it make you want some tea?
Yes.
The next question for everyone was, someone was wondering, My generation saw the word freelance as code for unemployed. Do you all believe that that has changed?
Absolutely.
Oh, yes.
About 1 in 3 people works as a freelancer, if I have that number right. It's absolutely changed.
And the trend is up, right?
Yeah.
The trend is more and more and more up. So yeah, definitely changed.
And we just watched a couple of coworkers and I watched a session the other day on the trends in corporate hiring. And because more and more people want to be remote and corporations are not having big office spaces as much, they are looking for freelancers specifically now, more than they ever have. There's an uptick in them hiring freelancers so they don't have to have somebody on staff and the overhead related to that. You'll see both. You'll see jobs out there for staff writers, which could be a blast. I actually work full time and I love it, right? But there's such a variety now, and remote workers or freelance workers is very much part of that norm now, the new norm.
Yeah, and it's funny when I talk to people that, like, if I'm talking to a prospective client, I'm obviously acknowledging I work on a contractor freelance basis. But when I talk to people about what I do, I don't usually say I'm a freelance writer. I just say I'm a writer, and then see where the conversation goes from there.
Good.
Awesome, thank you. The next question comes from April. April is wondering, you kind of touched on not getting cutesy in presenting yourself, but then mentioned this, I help landscape companies grow their sales. So some might think that puns can be cutesy. Could you give an example of how cutesy versus play on words could come into presenting yourself?
Well, I think sparingly. I wouldn't brand myself in a cutesy way. I mean, that was just a sparing little pun, but it was, I kind of shot myself in the foot there, didn't I?
I don't think so. I would say we were talking specifically about domain names when we said don't get cutesy. And one of the things that you'll see writers do is they'll substitute the word right with a pen for the word right, like I'm the correct fit. And that's being cutesy in a way that gets confusing because then people don't know how to spell your domain name. So that was where the cutesy warning really came in.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, spelling of your domain name is more key, right? I mean, they really need to be able to spell it to find you. So. Yeah,
and you also, it might be the industry, like when working in the pet industry, I can be a little more cutesy, actually, than maybe if you're in a more serious industry. I don't know.
What is cuter than a pet?
Exactly.
A what?
I said, what is cuter than a pet?
No, there's nothing cuter than this snoring guy over here. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. Nancy on Facebook is wondering, can you address how to choose which samples to provide in which format when companies ask for samples?
Sure. We have, as you might guess, a whole inside AWAI session on creating samples, especially if you're just starting out brand new and you don't even have any yet. It's easy to actually create samples. You're writing on your LinkedIn profile. Your description of what you offer is a sample. If you start with a simple website, that's a sample. If you want to try and, if you have any sort of writing before, or if you want to try a spec assignment, which some companies put out there, like write for us, here are the specifications, submit something to us in the flavor, like you guys all have that, right? In the write for us, you want them to submit something in the flavor of what you are looking for? Yeah, sure. So do that. Format usually is Word, but not necessarily. I don't know what you guys think about that.
Yeah, I always send my samples as PDFs because then I'm absolutely confident that the formatting comes through the way that I intend it to.
Okay, cool.
And in terms of what samples to choose, if you have samples that are either industry related or very similar to the project type that you are working on, focus on those. Don't ever send more than 3 samples. That will overwhelm them.
Right. And if you don't have something that's industry related, or if you don't have something that is the project that you want to share with them, create one as a sample. There's no rule that says that it has to be a real example for a real company. Just make sure you label it as sample or example. And, more relevant will be easier for the client to see what you can do for them. So the closer to what they're asking you to do that you can provide as a sample, the easier it will be for them to see you in that role helping them.
Yeah, especially for content work. If you're like, I don't have a sample to give to this client, just be like, hey, I went on your website and I read a couple of your blog posts. I wrote the first few paragraphs of a potential blog for you that you could look at as a sample, and I'd be happy to finish that out for you as our first project.
Love it.
Very good. I have a little experience too. Some people are nervous about providing any kind of free copy to a client. Some clients need to see what you would do for them. So that's called a spec. When I was applying for a job at LL Bean in the catalog copy department, they said, do you have any catalog experience? I said, no, but I have a boatload of writing experience. They said, well, will you write a little product description for us that matches our tone, style, approach? And I said, sure. I mean, I want to show them what I've got. So I wrote a sample and I got the job. And it's not really considered working for free. It's considered showing, presenting something that will wow them. So they will hire you. So I'm just throwing that in there.
Awesome. Thank you all. I do see just a couple more questions here before we wrap up. Jill was just wondering, she was thinking of upgrading to Microsoft Office products. Would anyone recommend Office 365 or Microsoft Office?
I have 365. I love it. It's cheaper. It's not, I don't have to ever update it. It's online. It gets updated automatically. So that's just my personal experience on my freelance side. And I never look back.
Yes, same here.
Awesome. Thank you. And someone was wondering if you use your personal phone number or you have a second line or work number.
I'll let you guys answer that.
Somewhere along the line, it all became the same thing. It's just my smartphone number. If I know who's calling, I'll answer it appropriately to that person. If I don't know who's calling, I answer basically Dragonfly Media. This is Heather. Or a lot of times if I don't know who's calling, I don't answer. I have a professional voicemail message and I let them leave me a voicemail, and then I decide if I want to call them back or contact them by email, or often it's a telemarketer and I ignore them. But yeah, it's all just the same number anymore.
Yeah, I have the exact same thing. It's my personal cell and I let it go to voicemail if I don't know who it is. I've got my professional message on my voicemail, and I'll call them back if I need to.
Yeah, I am email first. I actually don't. Some people have on their website, call me. And in that case, it's a personal number, or sometimes I think Steve Maurer gives an excellent example of, he has like a voice over internet line that forwards to his cell phone. So it does tie back eventually to your cell phone. It's just how public you want to be with that. My client relationships often start in person or with a referral. So I'm email first, and then we connect and swap personal phone numbers.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you. And then Mara was wondering, how long is too long for a domain name?
There's not a hard and fast rule.
Right.
It should be easy to say and easy to remember. And easy to spell.
Yeah.
Right.
Easy to spell, easy to remember, trumps length.
Yeah.
And also make sure it works in lowercase. I've had some people where they have two words and they put it together and they think it's fine, but then when it's all lowercase blobbed together, it gets weird.
Yeah,
so,
I've seen that.
Yeah. I can't even bring up one of them because it's not for this audience, but it didn't work. So be careful about that.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. I believe that was the last question we had for now. I did just want to say that a lot of people were saying that clutter equals creativity. They were very much agreeing with that.
I must be the outlier on that because I can't work in clutter at all. So, I mean, I'm pretty much a neat freak, but somehow I'm creative. I don't know how that happened, but
we're all unique.
I think I'm an outlier. I think most brilliant creative people are very cluttery.
I think what works for you is the best for you.
Right. I want to thank you three for being here so much, for spending the time. It was really awesome. Please go visit their websites because there's a gold mine on each one of them, depending on what your interest is. Again, Professional Writers Alliance is all about growing your business as a freelancer. Wealthy Web Writer is focused on digital copywriting and content writing. And B2B writing success is focused on working with clients in the business to business world. So the suppliers, vendors, shipping companies, software companies that sell to other companies or businesses. So depending on your interest, you could sign up for all three, or see where you go. But thank you again, and thank you to Melissa and Katie for being in the Facebook group to answer questions there too. And thank you, Fran, for hosting. And we'll see you next month for another hot topic about copywriting. Take care.
Thanks, Pam.
Hi, everyone.